this particular diagram is already embedded as part of the section on our code, our standards, and how the community of practice work aligns with that. But I really wanted to highlight a couple of things that are really important to me. I particularly like this diagram because it has been a place to really reflect on how our community of practice is going and what possible future steps we should be considering. And I'll briefly elaborate on them now, but there is actually more to be said at a later stage as part of this assignment when we talk about reflecting on and future steps for our community of practice. So if we are thinking of our code of standards, Te Tiriti o Waitangi partnership, in particular, to start with, when I reflected on this, I was worried. I was thinking maybe we hadn't done enough around this, and we may not have at this stage. But one of the things I think, as I reflected, I remembered that we had actually really endeavoured to include a framework that is respectful of partnership, looking at aroha, tika and pono, and examining that in fairly briefly, but in relation to the SCERTS model and introducing the SCERTS model to our community practice group. We had lots of really good, robust discussion around what evidence-based practice was, and it was a really valuable discussion. There are future steps that we could be looking at, and I think, we haven't opened with karakia. We haven't. We've kept things very informal, and I think there's some thinking that we should be doing about that, and some talking about what we could perhaps do in a better way, because it's been a bit of a lunchtime meeting. We've encouraged people to just come along, bring their sandwich or salad and sit and chat while the group's arriving, finish their lunch, have that bit of downtime. So we haven't sort of formally started, and I do think that's something to think about. In terms of our professional learning, I think we've done this really well. We've pulled out some readings. We've thought really deeply about what evidence-based practice is and where SCERTS fits in. We've looked at guidelines. We've really tried to make sure that our direction is quite robust. And for the future, we want to continue to really develop that that habit of learning from, with, about, and doing that really purposefully. Our professional relationships, we have got a really strong culture of respect and really value each team member. We're comfortable with each other. We don't actually know each other, or all of us know each other really well, but I think we're all professionals. We all value diversity. We all respect others' views, opinions, perspectives, and expertise. And I think that shows in how we're developing our discussions. And I do think that we need to keep thinking perhaps more of a bit of a framework to keep the community of practice alive, even if things change and develop in terms of members. A learning-focused culture, I think the big thing for me from that is having that ongoing learning, really staying one step ahead of the group in lots of ways as facilitator, to make sure that we are focusing on the key elements of the SCERTS model and really going as deep as we possibly can in our understanding and discussions, and acknowledging the really different members and their learning styles and the way they work is a really big thing for me as facilitator. I do need to put in a reasonable amount of work before each meeting, and I guess that just goes with the role, and not just for the purposes of this assignment, but for the ongoing learning that I am having as well. So we need to keep challenging ourselves to go deeper, keep things fresh. And in regards to design for learning, we want to expand. We want to include other disciplines and other expertise. And although that is starting to happen as our members of our community of practice go out and work with the SCERTS model, it would be good to have our actual community of practice have a wider range of views and expertise. So there are a couple of other people who have expressed their desire to be part of the group, and we'll continue to encourage them to come along. So psychologist, AODC. So, you know, there's an opportunity to really grow the community of practice as well. And also with teaching, we do use a range of strategies, and that's, I feel, is kind of my responsibility as facilitator to make sure that I include different media, to use the technology that we have available to kind of really keep the learning fresh, to really adapt things to different learning styles, to really spend time talking through the issues and having a really robust conversation around what's working and maybe what isn't working as well, or what our understandings of different elements of the model are. I think in the future it's continuing to check in with the group, maybe looking at a more formal framework even for evaluating how the community practice is going. But definitely when I look at all of this and look at this alongside of our teaching standards, it shows me that that the work within the community of practice and in the wider work in the early intervention services really does align with the standards, and for the purposes of teacher registration even, there are some wonderful examples of how we work